don't drink caffeine, so I need my womb juice.
That was Jamie Wiggins, and this is episode 59. Welcome to the Brave Woman Podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Lynn, founder of Sistership Circle and author of Open Your Heart and The Art of Leading Circle. I'm the mother of 2 girls, an 8 on the Enneagram, aka the Challenger, happily married to my business partner, Brent, love connecting with nature, and have put in well over 10,000 hours circling with other women. On this podcast, we will explore how to embody the brave woman so that you can take action on your dreams and desires, unapologetically speak your truth, and live life on your own terms. Grab a seat and a cup of tea, and let's get started. So welcome, Jamie. I am so excited for this very juicy conversation with you today about womb work. And I just love to start with why this work you feel is so important, not only for yourself and why you're so passionate about it, but also just for women as the divine feminine is rising on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, I feel like I could probably write a book on that. Maybe I will. But the first thing that comes is that when we live in alignment with our menstrual cycle, we are reconnecting ourselves with nature. So we're literally physically living through the cycles and the seasons of nature, and that the more we connect with that and really embody it, like fully blossom in our summer and fully release in our winter, there's a shift that occurs. There's a shift that occurs that we just remember that we're, I don't know, not it's like literally in our cells, in our bodies, in our blood, and our womb is giving us that beautiful lesson. So I'm sure I could go on.
Specifically for you. Yeah. So what is this so meaningful for you? Because I see that I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And we'll go into more of that. Like, what does that actually mean? And then for you personally.
Yeah.
Or what has it done for you? Yeah.
Yeah. The womb it's so delicious and juicy to me. I mean, so basically physical pain is what brought me here and working with the womb, healing my migraines and healing polycystic ovarian syndrome that I had in my early 20s, that all really rooted from early trauma and were like my body speaking. And so really my body was calling for attention, for presence. And the deeper I went into that and worked with healers and worked with myself and then finally found womb work, it just felt like home. Like it felt like a way to deepen and heal ancestral trauma and also fully embody and express my power and my creativity, which are very much connected and the same. So yeah, and it's also like a daily juicy plug-in. Like I'm a mom of young kids and life is full and I get tired, and being able to go and honestly, this took me about 2 years to get to the place where I can sink into my womb and just like it starts to tingle and fill with light, and I'm able to just activate the Shakti pretty easily. Like it could just move into that place when I'm feeling really depleted or ill or whatever. I can move into my womb and just it's like plugging in to my source feed, and fill that and cultivate that and grow that through my body. So on a daily basis, it's just I don't drink caffeine, so I need my womb juice.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure people are going to be interested in like, okay, what does that actually look like? But let's we'll put that for a little bit later. You said that you experienced some trauma as a child. And you were saying that you were having migraines. And then the what did you say? The
polycystic ovarian syndrome. Yeah.
And so can you share a little bit about, I mean, are you open to sharing your story of trauma and then how these are all related? And I mean, what had you say, oh, I have a migraine, and how that's maybe connected with your womb? I mean, people probably aren't thinking that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, everything is connected, and the trauma would express itself. It was a sexual trauma, and it was when I was 14. I was molested and at a friend's house, and so my adolescence was really a series of building layers and coping, and things that weren't healthy, or putting myself in unsafe situations, but as a form of trying to find power in myself. And by the time I was in my early 20s, I started just to have strong physical symptoms. One, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome when I was about, I think I was 20. It's hard. I think it was 19 or 20. And one time I just was doubled over in pain and and I didn't go to the emergency room, but I should have probably. And I was just in severe, and I had a cyst burst, and it was just high level of pain. And so, and the migraines were connected to this, and they're also connected to my nervous system and how it wired from the trauma. And so this is something that I think I'll be healing my whole life. I'm continuously working with it, and I still get headaches sometimes, but it's something that I have learned from for a very long time. So the womb work was like the pain brought me into my womb. It was like a calling. It was like, here, come here. And that's actually around the time where I had a dream. I started to go to counseling, and I was simultaneously, I was having these instincts towards being a healer as well. I've always been an artist and a writer. And so I was in my undergrad, was studying art therapy, and then so was my master's degree during my 20s. So yeah, I started to go to therapy when I was about 22, around the same time that I was having a lot of pain. And the first dream, the woman I worked with was a dream worker, and the first dream that I brought, and they often say the trajectory of your course is sometimes set by this dream. I mean, I didn't know that then, but in dream work, sometimes that is set. So the first dream I brought was I was in a house that there was an unsafe man in this house, and it was kind of just had that energy of trauma. It was an unsafe place, and I was escaping through the window, and I set foot on the earth, on the grass, and I walked over to this massive tree, and I held a chalice, and I looked down at the chalice, and in the chalice was menstrual blood. And I poured the menstrual blood on the roots of this great tree. And I, at the time, it's so funny to think back, because at the time I understood the leaving the house of trauma, and I thought that, oh, this is kind of cool, kind of powerful feeling. And I also had some, internalized feelings of ooh, menstrual blood, and ooh, I just didn't really know, my mind didn't know what to make of this dream that now, looking at the course of my life, had it was telling of the future, very much so, and kind of showing the trajectory and the direction of what would be my healing, and also my power and my offerings. So yeah, the migraines, just to click in that, like, they were like right as I would begin to bleed, or, connected with my cycle. I would sometimes have migraines during my bleed that would last like 3 or 4 days, and I'd have to just completely go in my room with a pillow over my head. And so that I guess connects to the cycle and the womb as well. What are these connected to? But
Today's podcast is sponsored by Annabelle from Nuna Therapy, a quantum Reiki master, astrologer, women's circle leader, and a mom of 2. Her mission is to help women reconnect to their authentic selves on all levels. Today, she's excited to share with you a free 4 elements personality quiz to help you gain a new perspective on your unique makeup using the elements of water, air, earth, and fire. The quiz will help you determine which element is strongest in you and which one could use more nurturing, along with practical tips for bringing them into balance. You know, I love quizzes. I think they are so powerful. So head on over to nunatherapy.com/free-elements-quiz. You could find that in our show notes. And for more on energy healing, the cosmos, and self-discovery, follow Annabelle on Instagram or Facebook, and you could find those links as well in the show notes.
Yeah, and so we could go back to when you are plugging into source on a daily basis. Is there a particular practice that you're doing? Are you open to sharing what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And I trained with Melanie Swan. She has the Sacred Womb podcast for anyone who's listening. And she's a wonderful healer and womb worker. And so I trained with her for 2 years. And we had a very regular practice. And so a lot of the practices that I began with were offerings from her. And then it's been several years since I've trained with her, so I've been able to deepen into my own wisdom and my own womb's wisdom in really juicy ways. But yeah, so plugging into the womb, it's actually just incredibly simple. There's a breathing exercise that helps you, kind of a wave breath that will help you move up and then kind of drop down, like with momentum. There's so many different ways to access the womb, but sometimes I do meditations through a spiral staircase where we're going down and down and we find a doorway. But finding whatever feels good for your body and where you can actually kind of feel like you physically land in your womb space. And it took me a while to really even feel that. I think there's just so much disassociation to do with our womb and our culture, so we could go on and on, right, about just the stigmas around menstruation and the wombs. But so finding access to the womb in whatever way feels good. And like I said, that could take time because there's sometimes blocks. And then so this, like I also said that it took me a long time to just like feel into to really feel like I was inhabiting my womb. And so I think it's a practice that takes time to cultivate, but it's like once your womb is activated, once you've really spent time opening that and like kind of blessing that womb temple and like really inhabiting it with your presence, there's a time when something just clicks. And for me, I think it was like a year into doing these practices of like everyday practices with this training that something clicked, and just like my womb was tingling and just full of Shakti, and really has never stopped. I mean, my womb it's an indicator of health, right? Or an indicator of, if something's a little off, and you can really move into your womb and feel if something's maybe not in alignment in your life. But now I breathe into my womb. I just drop in and I breathe in and out, and I grow that Shakti presence. And it's just a warm, tingling light that fills my womb. and fuels me. And once it's cultivated in this cauldron of the womb, I can draw it up with breath through my body. And it's not like I created this, and it's a pretty, I think working with the womb and working with Shakti presence is an ancient practice. There's ancient, I think many of the mystery schools, it was like an essential piece. Ayurvedic traditions, I mean, there's a lot of I'm not inventing the wheel, but it sure is a powerful, and the womb really is a portal to ancient wisdom in so many ways. And so once you really tap into that source and understand how to activate and communicate, there's a lot that flows through. I receive messages from my womb regularly and do meditations with it, and I have to write it down just like a dream because it will slip away. So
is there an example of something that like really, I mean, it just completely stands out as like a defining moment of some kind of message, or something that you receive ancestral wisdom, or can you think of any time that you could share as an example?
Oh, the first one that came to mind, I was doing a daily, a 21-day practice with a sister circle. And so we were really kind of like in the depths of deep listening. It was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I received the message, and it said, and this feels vulnerable and kind of exposed, but it said, you are a priestess of the highest order. You are a priestess of an ancient lineage. And I just wrote it down. And it was really, it was like a hard pill to swallow or something. Like it felt like, ooh, special, but I have no idea what this means, like how this, and yet throughout the last years, I have lived into this in a deeper way and had more revelations and more past life remembering, and just reclaiming this like lineage and this kind of like my golden center, my divine nature. Yeah,
I can relate with that. When I went to Avalon, Glastonbury, England, have you been?
No, but I will. I must.
I really didn't know really why I was going. I was just felt called, drawn. And I arrived late at the retreat, and we immediately went to the Chalice Well. And I remember as soon as I sat on those steps, it felt like I was being transported back in time. And I went through this portal, and basically it was like, you're here to reclaim your sacred sexuality. And I was like, what like, huh?
Full body chills.
And I really wasn't very immersed at the time, because that was 2018. 2018. I wasn't really all that connected with Mary Magdalene. And that was really what the retreat was about. And I didn't understand Mary's connection with the womb, with sacred sexuality. And I had this ancient knowing that I had been there before, and I was part of a priestess lineage, and it was, I mean, it changed everything for me.
Yeah.
So
I have full body chills from that story. I relate to it deeply. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd love to just hear from you of, what is that for you?
Yeah. I mean, the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years have been, I feel a deep resonance with Mary Magdalene and the Rose Priestess path. Like where, it's just like words are a little hard to place on those like ancient memories that are so, just different healing moments where I've been working with a healer and just like broken down in tears, or just like had these gushing memories, or opening moments of like, I'm here to do this work right now. And this is what this is why I'm here, and this is what I need to do. And yeah, I mean, it's potent, and it's humbling, and it's gorgeous, and just so juicy. And to have those rememberings and to feel that line of women, all the way back through, to ancient times is it's to really claim it, and like be like, yeah, I had this past life, yeah, whatever, you can have your healing and then step back into your normal life and be cooking dinner, and and kids are crying and this and that. But like, I'm learning to just live my life with this priestess at the center.
Yeah. So as a mom, as a mom, I'd love to hear too of how that is being translated to daughters. Because we both have daughters, and like teaching them this, and you bring your daughter to circle, and so what's that like for you, being a mom, wanting to create something new for your daughter, this new way?
Yeah. Gosh, I feel like she comes in just with like her own power and her own knowing, and I'm kind of just like in awe of her. Even the way she came in was like out of this world. But it's so lovely, and I think I shared with you before, it feels to share this work with young girls, and my daughter is just, it's like sweet. It's so sweet. It's like honey, like milk and honey. I just this weekend I was offering a womb dance, and it's a trance dance that I begin with a meditation, and we deepen into the womb, and then throughout the dance we're cultivating that Shakti and moving it through our bodies. And but it was there was a 14-year-old girl, and there was some 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like we had a whole group of different age of girls, and mamas too. And it's just amazing, the wisdom that they hold. I think that's what I am continuously blown away with. And it just kind of goes to show like what our culture takes, how we're enculturated, or how that wisdom is kind of blocked or repressed, because they come in with it so clear. So being able to move into the womb space with these really young girls, it's like easeful. They're just like, yeah, of course. And yeah, they feel that power. Yeah. What'd you say?
What did you do with them?
We went into the womb, and we grew a tree of wisdom. We went and sat beneath this tree of wisdom inside the womb, and let it hold us, and felt in our bodies this like ancient wisdom that goes back from grandmother to grandmother. And we let the roots deepen into the earth, and then we grew the tree up from our womb up through our whole being, and let the branches kind of grow from our neck and soak in the sun. And then the girls, I asked everyone participating to give an offering of thanks to the tree. And so we had our cup. Very much, obviously, my dream is informing this, as well as other things. But yeah. And so we poured our offering, and they could see what potion or what wanted to arrive as an offering for their tree of wisdom. And yeah, it was very sweet. And then I also offer first bleat, like menarche ceremonies for young girls too. And so working with the like 11, 12-year-olds is a whole other experience, and has also kind of blown me away with their wisdom and their sweetness and their just power. And being able to work with them really has felt like a full circle for my healing, because that's the age that I experienced abuse. But after many years of healing and like moving into my body, I had felt like resistance actually working. Obviously, it makes sense that I had felt resistance working with that age, but it finally actually came from a womb meditation that was like asking me to do this. And so I offered it and opened it, and there was so much magic that came in. And
yes, I'm sure that there's women who would love to be doing work with girls. And so could you just share what that looked like, what that ceremony looked like for the girls?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I offered a 4-part workshop that we were and I tuned it with the seasons. So we went through each season, and they got to dress like with the seasons, and we would talk about a superpower and a challenge that kind of occurred in each season. And we also talked about, you know, physical things that were happening in the body. But it was I would always bring a myth, and always have some art making and music and rose petals and sweet tea and chocolates. And I just being able to like pamper at that age and just feel the goddess and feel that sacred nature. And they were so open to moving into, and you know, I'm sure it's, you know, child to child, it's so different, but they really enjoyed doing the womb meditations. And just were full of, like I said, just full of wisdom and curiosity. And so yeah, we journeyed through the seasons. And when it came to premenstrual time, we talked about working with our critic, and they wrote a little sketch of like what character their critic would be and what they would look like and talk like. And we had some really good conversations around that. As, you know, all of us can do that all the time. That's a really good practice. But at 11 or 12, like that's just, and they were so insightful. And then for the final ceremony, after they worked through the seasons, we had it on out in nature by a waterfall, and the girls, they brought one of their favorite little stuffies, and they left them in the roots of a tree, or a little hole in this tree. And all the mamas and first we made flower crowns, and I shared a myth, and then we went down by the creek, and they left their little stuffies in a tree, and we all made a little tunnel with our arms and sang a song, and they each walked through, and I offered them a piece of chocolate and a cup with pomegranate juice, and said, "Welcome." And then we just sprinkled them with just validate things that we saw in them, their power and yeah, it was pretty, it's been really, really special. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So I'd love to know, is there anything we haven't covered that you really want women to know about their womb?
Yes, this is my favorite thing, and it's kind of this is my passion, because I'm a writer, and just have always been an artist, and my background is in art therapy. But the womb is this powerhouse creator. Like it gives us, when we align with our cycles and we work in alignment with our wombs, with the menstrual cycle and the full cycle of ovulation, you know, the full cycle, we can create anything. It's quite phenomenal. We're given this map, and we have it inside of our bodies, and it changes everything to me. It's like the shift from the patriarchy of like the push and the exhaustion and the burnout to like, actually, this is how you create. Like, you have it in your body. Like, you rest deeply when you bleed. And I know, believe me, I know it's hard. But if we can, you know, if we can shift the paradigm, if we can create this space to rest deeply, even just for one day, and then like go through that full release to physically, emotionally, and spiritually shed. Like, we're given access to like deep transformative therapy in our bodies through our womb, you know. Bleeding releases like what we need to let go of. And it also is a time when the veil is very thin and we can receive. And, you know, women through time have known this. And it's the time to really open and ask, like, what's next? And so it gives us a navigation point. It gives us clarity. It gives us the seeds of wisdom of like, what's next? What do I do? What am I supposed to be doing for work, for whatever, for all these things? What should I do with my child? And really opening during the bleed is it's a portal. It's a space that it's an ancient practice that's going to bring deep wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're given, so the workshop with the girls was given to me during my bleed. My novel I've been writing, I've received during my bleed on a full moon. Peach, my offering, it's a newsletter, but it's more of a monthly article or creative offering. That came just like peach during, I received it during my bleed. I trust the things that come during my bleed. And sometimes it's hard in life when we get swarmed with ideas and trying to know which creative direction to go. And it's a navigation point. And so that comes, and then in the spring of our cycle, when we are just shifting out of our moon time, that's the time to really plant those seeds of intention. Of like, this is what I'm planting now. I received this during the bleed. You go through the first part of the bleed is really the shedding, and then there's the rebirth, and then the ideas start bubbling up when that eros starts to rise again. And yeah, so the planting of the seed, and then it's just that the full circle of ovulation is the time to fully like express it, and like what wants to come, what actions want to be taken, even if it's just like one action towards a greater thing. Sometimes it doesn't take 1 month to create something, but it's like, okay, I wrote a chapter, or I whatever, I called this person. And then the premenstrual phase, the autumn of our season, is this beautiful time for editing and for releasing, for it's like the time when what needs to go can be cleared, and we're given those indicators in sometimes really strong ways. Kali is alive during the premenstruum. So emotionally, physically, in all aspects of our lives, premenstruum is like it's the time to really get clear and clear out what wants to go, or shifts that want to be made. And then as I already spoke to, the winter of the season of the bleed, of that deep rest and release. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things, because working with that, I feel like I just I trust it. I trust it. I trust what comes through, and it really I feel like it's like a higher wisdom coming through me, and so I can fully jump into these creative projects that I'm given, or jump into what is calling, like that seed that came through, because I trust that's like what's my highest good.
Well, before we end, I'm wondering if you could guide us through a womb meditation, maybe really short.
Sure.
And before we wrap up.
Sure, I can. Let's, because it's the theme, let's do this tree of wisdom.
Perfect. Yeah.
Seems to be calling. All right, dear ones, let's just get settled in your body. Start to relax. Feel your seat on the ground or in your chair. Start to become aware of your breath. And we'll just begin with a few wave breaths, which is from the base of your feet. Draw a breath up, and then to the top of your head, and then release, and let it wash down through you. And we'll do those a few times. Just see the ocean wave washing up through your body to the top of your head, and then releasing down. And on this next one, let the wave wash up through. Release all that isn't serving. And last one, we're going to breathe up through our center to the top of the head, and then we're going to release down and place your hands on your womb. And you can do that motion of breath a few more times until you drop down into your womb center or wherever you land. And once you find yourself in your womb, start to breathe into this space. And breathe and bless this space, this holy space. And you see a great tree. And you sit at the base of this tree. It's welcoming you in. She's large and has deep roots into the earth, and you feel those roots through your own being. And this tree, it holds the wisdom. It holds ancient memories. That as you lean into this tree and relax into this tree, you feel this wisdom activated in your own being. And you know this ancient knowledge is your own, not separate. It's living in your very cells. And you breathe that wisdom up, and you feel the tree growing up through your center, rising through your heart center and your throat. And you feel the branches start to spread wide, and leaves start to grow and fill, reaching for the sky and the sun, the energy of the moon and the stars soaking into these leaves. And they soak down through the branches. And you just feel the resonance of this tree through your whole being. How it's come to remind you you are deeply connected to the earth. You move in seasons. You have the power to fully express your heart's wisdom. And you want to give thanks to this tree, and you hold a cup, perhaps a golden chalice, and you look down into the cup and you see your offering. What sweet offering do you pour into the roots of this generous tree? And you say thank you to this tree. And you give a bow. You feel the life force in your womb that has grown this tree. And you place your hands on your heart and breathe that energy up into your heart. You place your hand on your head and breathe that energy into your head. And then release. And slowly come back.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel so deep. I feel like I really went inward.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as we're wrapping up here, how can women connect with you if they feel drawn and want to learn more about your work?
Yeah. You can find me on my website, and that's jamiewiggins.org. And
Put
you
on
can
the
book a
show notes.
consult. Yeah, you'll find it in the show notes. Yeah. And we would just book a consult and see if we're a good fit and if it sounds good. And then yeah. And then you can also email me if you have questions. And that's jamie.wombwork@gmail.com. And you can also find, I have articles and offerings on Medium. You can find me under Jamie Wiggins. And on my email or on my website, you can subscribe to receive Peach, which is my regular offering of inspiration, and you may find a poem or a meditation or an article of something that has that I've written recently. So yeah, that's what I have, and it's wonderful to be here.
And if there's one last thing that you can tell the women from the mountaintops, your woo wants to share with everyone in our parting remarks.
It's just, you are magic. Like this is magic. This is like this is magic. It really is. And it lives inside of us. And the more we reclaim this, the more the world changes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And thank you everyone for tuning in to the Brave Woman podcast.
You just listened to this show. I'd love for you to leave the Brave Woman podcast an honest review. Reviews help podcasts like this one grow, making it more possible for me to devote my time, energy, and money to its production. If you take a screenshot of your review and email it to support@sistershipcircle.com, we'll send you one of our archetype activations as a thank you gift. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Up next, astrology is such a powerful ancient tool to navigate today's modern challenges. Do you know how to read your chart? That's what you're going to discover in the next episode.